Clamp prop! Hey guys, welcome back to Video Spence. In this video, I'm going to continue on from our last lesson where I'm teaching you the basics of how to use HitFilm Express as the tool for making better videos and better photography, or at least still images, for your flying adventures. Now, the goal here is to give you the very basics of what a tool looks like, such as HitFilm Express, so that you can start to use it along with the things that I'm going to show you in subsequent videos. I'm going to start at the very basics, even though many of you guys may know more than this, because this is a new tool that really covers the whole gambit of three things that we want to do. One, it provides an editor for video editing. Two, it provides that compositing option to add special effects. And we're going to do some really cool stuff that'll be fun for the holidays or for those rainy days when you just don't know what to do with yourself out of the airport. You can stay home and have fun making some cool things you can share with your friends and family. And number three, this tool actually allows us, because we start with high definition video, to output really amazing still images. And I'm going to be creating these pre-made effects filters that you'll be able to use just by downloading to create the same kind of results. Just substitute the image that I'm using in the demo with your own, choose the filter or the effects bundle, and you'll be able to get the same results. So we're going to cover everything from videography to still using this one tool. So let's dive in. Here I've actually got HitFilm Express installed. Now I'm on a Macintosh, but this works the same for PC. So you don't have to worry that the lessons are going to be any different. When we start out, you'll notice that on the left-hand side, there are these add-on packs. The neat thing about this tool is that it's free to use, and just about everything I'm going to teach you in the early lessons, especially, is going to use the free stuff. You're not going to have to get an add-on pack. But some of the cool things you can download, and the add-ons are maybe $9 or $19. This is a really smart way for them to make this tool available instead of forcing everybody to go out and spend hundreds of dollars or subscribe to an online service like you might have to do if you used Final Cut Pro or if you used Adobe Premiere. This is going to be the way we're going to start today by just creating a new project file. So in the upper left-hand corner, you see it says New. We click on that, and like I left in the last video, we're going to choose 1080p Full HD at 29.97 frames per second. You want to know what that all means? Go to my last video where I introduced you to the basics of HitFilm, and that'll make it understood that this is the standard for most video today, and the standard that will come out of your camera in most cases. Now, some cameras come up at a higher resolution, 4K we call it. That's okay. We can apply the same techniques I'm showing you here, but I'm going to just go with 1080p because that's an easier format to work with, and it's a little bit a little bit faster to download the sample files. So same otherwise. We're going to start by clicking on the editing tool. We have the option of compositing as well, but since I'm not going to do that in this video, I'm going to start with the editor. You'll notice also that we're in the project tab, or were until I just changed it. Now we're in the editing tab. There's always the tabs up at the top of HitFilm Express: Home, Project, Edit, and then finally, when we're done with making something cool, we can export it. And we'll show you how to use that at the end of today's lesson. Inside of the editor window, there's a configuration of various tools that we're going to need, and I'm just going to walk you through each of those slowly so you understand them. We may not actually use much of these today, but in the future lessons, I'm going to show you how to actually use them in the process of a workflow. In the left-hand side, we have our media library. That's essentially the bucket of where we keep our clips, whether they're still images, sound files, or video clips. We can also keep our compositing projects in there. So when we do layer stuff together, we take the output of that and we put it inside of our media library so we can use it inside of a project. There's also an area where we'll have controls show up, and that's a simple way for us to organize the effects or the things that we're going to do to our media so that we could just apply that in bulk, or we can apply that before we actually use the media inside of a project. It's kind of the same like you might use right now. If you take a picture with your iPhone, you can apply the filters and the other things, then save the image and just use it wherever you want. You can email it, you can text message it, you can send it to somebody inside of another app. So we're going to need to add some media into here, and I'm going to do that in a second. But let's talk about the other windows first. In the next window over, we have the trimmer and the mixer for audio. The trimmer is where we take some media, it could be an image, most likely it's going to be a video, and we adjust it. We can scale it, crop it, pan it, as I just said, apply effects, or we can set the in point or the out point. Let's say, for example, I have a very long, hour-long flying video. That's a long time. That's a lot of stuff. Instead of having to drag that entire clip to my actual workspace and then edit it there, instead I can put it inside of the trimmer and then just say, I only want the part from here to here. And then just take that one little part and drag it into our project. Similarly, what if I want to apply a global effect? Maybe I want to make the whole thing kind of vintagey in black and white. Well, I can do that inside of the trimmer, and then any of the pieces that I take will already be set to black and white, saving me a lot of time. Same thing for the audio mixer. If I'm bringing in special effects or I'm bringing in background music, maybe I only want a part of that to use in the project, or I want to adjust the volume levels, maybe I want to set the in and out fade. All of that can be done in advance inside of this window. To the right of that is our actual project viewer and also our layer viewer. This is where we see what is going on from the timeline below. So once we start adding the clips from our actual media library, examining them in the trimmer, and then dropping them into the timeline to be used, we will see the output of that inside of the viewer. Likewise, if we start to composite things, special effects and otherwise, and we want to see all of the various details that are going on, we need to look at that in an almost birthday cake fashion. We need to see here's the top and the one below and below and below. So we would use the layer tab in order to examine and manipulate all of those various composites. Finally, this is the big daddy, the kahuna, is the editor. I like to call it the timeline. And we see it has things known as tracks. And a track can be audio, video, still image, or composites. It could be the things that we make that are special effects. And it works just like a birthday cake. Kind of a birthday cake that you then turn on its side, actually turn on its side this way. At the very top of the timeline, that particular thing is always going to be seen first. If it's transparent, you'll be able to see the things below it. But if it's not transparent, it will block anything below it from being seen. On the other hand, with audio, it doesn't have a transparency issue. It has a levels issue. So if you have two soundtracks, maybe one's the voice or maybe the flying of your machine, and you add another one for special effects, maybe music or explosions or machine guns, you have to adjust the levels in order that you can hear them properly through both ears. You may have to do something that I'll teach you later called ducking. Ducking is where, let's say, and you've seen this in a movie, you've got the dialogue going on at a certain level, and then there's the special effects. Well, the dialogue has to duck out, has to duck down low, and all you want to hear is the special effects. But then when the special effects are over, you need the dialogue to come back up to a level that you can hear it. Same thing here, and I'm going to teach you those techniques. Finally, if we add something as a background, maybe as I'm going to show you, how to use stop motion or how to use the effects of something that looks like an image of your trike is actually flying in and out of the scene. There we might use a still image and just set that as the background. Another cool thing that I'm going to teach you is called green screen technique. That means that you could, for example, and I'll give you a little hint what I have in mind, what if we want to put your head into the scene of something else on top of somebody else's body? Maybe it's an even cool scene from a movie. If you have a solid color behind you and no other distractions, we can essentially grab that color and make it transparent, which leaves just your head and any other body parts in there as being around. We can then take that and composite that onto the other image and do it in a way that covers over the other person's head, and that allows for a really cool special effect, right? You become a participant in a scene that really doesn't have your body or other participants in it. We can do that with you, your machine, your trike, and so forth. So that's where we can do lots of stuff in the timeline that really is simple once you start to see it, but involves just understanding that we have a birthday cake vertically, and then horizontally, this is my scrubber. If I say that I want you to scrub the timeline, I can grab this with my mouse by holding the left mouse button down and dragging it. I can also use the J, K, and L keys. J, K, L. And when I do those, I can scrub through the timeline when there's an actual clip in here in order to go fast. You get the back and forth. Finally, I have other things here that I'll go over. We have the time code. The time code is very useful when we're trying to, for example, understand how long a clip is running, how long the, let's say, transition in may be, out may be, or just to go to a particular place that we've bookmarked. We have this little clock over here for a symbol. We have, this is to make a new composite. We'll talk about this. When we want to take things that, let's say, are going to be multi-layered and save them as one effect, one clip, we'll be able to make a new composite from the stuff that's already in the timeline. Here are some other tools where we can go to what we call keyframes. We're not going to worry about that today, but when animating a shot, when I want to, let's say, take a picture of a trike and have it fly through a scene as if it was actually flying, I'm going to do little stop points. Those are called keyframes. And in doing so, I can make very smooth motion that it still allows the image of the trike to appear to get smaller or bigger or move up and down or rotate or whatever. These other controls here I'm not going to worry about. These are all for advanced stuff, and that's for converting your keyframes. Over on the right is a shortcut that allows us to export. We'll show you this in a minute. When we make something basic with the timeline, we can just click this button and very quickly go to the export window that I referenced earlier. And then finally, on the right-hand side, there's two more windows. We've got the meters. That's your audio meters. When we're trying to adjust how loud something is relative to something else, maybe, again, the background noise of your trike flying through the air against the dialogue or the background music, we'll use the meters to see how high or low. And I'll explain to you in another video how to set those properly. And then finally, on the left-hand side, and this can be consolidated, but right now it's a separate window, I have the effects, the history, and the text editor. The effects are where we can apply various cool things to any clip or image or audio to make really magical stuff happen, as I'm going to show you. We can give it a different look, a different feel, a different color, a different texture, a different style, and they're all available inside the effects area. The history is what we've done before, so we can very easily move backwards if we don't like what we've done. So nothing is ever really lost, and we can actually see the whole history from every step of the way, so we can jump right to a part where we did something that, maybe I don't want to keep. And then finally, the text is great. This allows for some amazing on-screen motion graphic text that rival what you can do inside of a separate program. So we'll be able to make titles, we'll be able to put stuff on screen, even when it comes down to, let's say, labeling characters, like some F-16 type of an effect where you're tracking another trike. We can have things that show up on the screen that look like, oh, beep, 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 target acquired. I'm going to have some fun with you guys with this stuff. So these are the basic tools. Now, where we're going to get our clips at first, if you are already using video or photography, high five. You're ahead of the game. You can take your clips and you can import them directly into here. Don't worry if you don't, because you can go right to YouTube and grab any clips that you want to start playing with. As I mentioned before, if you're going to use them and output them into public, you need to give proper attribution and make sure that it's not something that's copyrighted. But for most of the people on YouTube that are putting videos out here, especially the fellow pilots, whether it's trikes or ultralights or microlights or regular GA aircraft, everybody is really interested in having fun. So if you say, hey, Bob, I'm going to borrow a little bit of your clip, you use it in something, and you say, hey, Bob, is this okay? More often than not, you'll get permission and everything will be great. Just make sure that you don't try to take other people's work and use it without their permission, or if they specifically said that you're not supposed to do that. That would be wrong, and it would also get you into potentially some trouble. But for most of the fun stuff, you can have a lot of fun starting with other people's clips. And if you're just using it for your own learning, all bets are off. This is only when you try to release it back into the public. Likewise, for your audio, I mentioned this in our starter video, but youtube.com/audiolibrary/music allows you to download any free music and free sound effects that you want, and there's an unlimited amount of cool stuff here. So even though I'm sure you want to use that new, rock and roll song from the radio, don't be tempted to do that, because that'll probably get your video delisted on YouTube for some copyright infringement. If you stick to this stuff or your own royalty-free music library that maybe you get elsewhere, you're going to be fine. Finally, we can get free stock photos from a number of places. I mentioned pexels.com. We can also go to places like videoblocks.com. This does have some free trials, and it also has a very inexpensive membership, so you can get lots of sample clips that are really professionally made that could be useful for your storytelling. Finally, if I wanted to do so, I go over here and I type in YouTube free downloader or download, and there's a number of tools here that I can use to download my particular videos from YouTube in order to start using it. I think last time I used y2mate.com. So let's do the basics of how you're going to get some images and videos into your timeline. And then in the next video, I'm going to start you off with, now we've got the tool, now you understand the tool, now you've got the clips, let's have some fun. So I'm going to go over here to YouTube, and I'm just going to grab something real quick. Really makes no difference, but I'll click here. This is actually commercial, so I definitely don't want to use any of this stuff that's commercial in a non-commercial way. So let's skip on it just to be safe. Let's go. Here's Wes Fry. I used his last time. So I'm going to take Wes's URL here. Thank you, Wes, for letting us use this in a demo. I'm going to paste the URL in here, and I click Start, or it just did it on its own. And I'm going to grab the 720p version. Now, those of you guys who've been paying attention realize, hey, Spence, you just set up a 1080p, and now you're downloading something that's smaller resolution. That's true, but for demonstration purposes, it's fine. If I was using my own video clips, they would be at 1080p. For YouTube, I'm going to put a smaller resolution clip in there, and it will work just fine for the purposes of learning. Later on, you can worry about matching up the stuff exactly. And if it was true that all I had were clips that were 720p, I would set the project lower to 720p to match. But for now, don't worry about it. Okay, and let's also grab an image, and I'll put in something like sunset. And I'll grab, I think I've used this image before, I'll grab this image, just a free download. And now let's show how we put this in. I'll grab one other thing. Let's just grab some audio file. So I've now got a still image, I've got a video, and I've got an audio file. I'm going to go over to my editor, and I'm going to go to the media library. I'm going to use the import feature. I click here, and I can import media, image, and so forth. I'm going to do media, and it's going to let me select where I want to get it from. So here on my Macintosh, I've got my downloads folder. You may have a different setting on your PC. I could just grab all three of them by holding the Shift key down and just selecting from the top to the bottom. And when I do, it'll let me know on the left-hand side when they're available for me to use. This could take, depends on your computer speed, a couple seconds or a minute or two. And we're just waiting for the audio, and we've got all three. So now, let's talk about our trimmer real quick. Not going to do it here, I just want to show you. When I take, let's say, any of these particular things, and I highlight them, you see I can see them in the trimmer. And I can adjust the various controls. I'm not going to do that here, just want to show you that's what happens. Sometimes if it's black, this means that it's just not quite downloaded yet. Oh, in this case, actually it is downloaded, it's just it was dark in the first frame. So you can see how we can adjust stuff, see what we're looking at, and we'll do that next. We want to put these things into the timeline. So I can do that one at a time, or I can do it in bulk. I'm just going to do it one at a time. I grab it either from the clip itself if I want the whole clip, or better, I'm going to set the in and out points and just drag it from there. Obviously with a still image it makes no difference. So I could just grab the whole still image, I put it in a timeline, and I'll shift it to the, let's say, to the extreme left. And I can stretch it out a little. Okay. Or if I want, even better, let's do it this way. Let's show you from the other side. I could set the in point. This is a photograph, so it doesn't matter. There is no real in point. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the trike video where it does matter. Let me just grab a little snippet of it. In point, out point, and then I grab this particular bit. Okay, put it in the middle. Grab that little bit, and I'll put it in above. Okay. And when I'm in the viewer, you'll start to see the differences by the way of the size. And then finally, let's put the audio in. I can just drag that into the audio timeline. Now again, this video, I'm not intending to make this into a tutorial of how to do all this stuff, but I just want to show you some basic stuff. When I zoom in, you will see that the background of the image is 1080p, so it fills the full frame. And I'll talk to you later about how to adjust this setup here. You see also, like a birthday cake, that the video, which was slightly smaller, it was 720p, is above in the layer. So you can see it, and because it's smaller, you can see the background. We would have to adjust that a little bit. The audio doesn't seem to care, but I want you to notice that there's two audio tracks. There's the audio track that comes with the actual flying video, Wesley's clip, and see how that's kind of paralleling so it stays together. And we've also got, I'm going to move it closer, and we also got the audio for the soundtrack from YouTube. Now, if I was to play these together, we'd hear both of them and they'd be a little out of sync, right? Too much wind noise, you can't hear the music. So we'll play with all of that. But now we've got a great basis for our next lesson, which is going to be, now that we've got the HitFilm Express set up, we've got some clips for video, audio, and a still image. What can we do with it? And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. If you like the course of action I'm taking here, if you enjoyed this kind of training, and I think you'll most likely enjoy it once I start showing you some fun results, I would love for you to subscribe or join or follow whatever you want on the YouTube channel so you never miss one of these lessons. And likewise, if you're interested in supporting what I'm trying to do here, I am basically asking for people to join over at trikepilot.com at the moment and check out what we have to offer. There's lots of other great things about flying gear, cameras, photography, everything to do with flying, either ultralights, microlights, trikes, GA aircraft, and so forth. But this time around, I'm trying to rebuild everything as a different model. If you like what I'm doing and you'd like to encourage the community to be in existence, I'm asking you to join and show your support. So I look forward to all the great comments. And if any of you feel that there's something I should be doing differently, I'm totally open to that. Just let me know. You can always reach me at info@trikepilot.com. Until then, this is Spence, and I'll see you in the next lesson.
Clamp prop!